So far with Monster Hunter Wilds, we've had the reveal trailer, gameplay trailer 1, and then gameplay trailer 2 as well. We've also had a behind closed doors 30-minute demo delivered directly to press and select influencers, played by the director himself. During this, press and influencers were able to ask various questions and see 30 minutes of hands-on gameplay, highlighting many features and elements that weren't present in the first 2 gameplay trailers. We've got loads of awesome details already to discuss and get our teeth sunk into. The hype is real, the bonk is strong, and my Kirin horn is electrified. I'm lighted up, Dan. I love to produce content that aims to reduce the overwhelm and distill the complexities of the Monster Hunter games into an easily digestible, accessible format. Very quickly, a massive thank you to all of you who have helped us get to around 80% of unsubscribed viewers on the channel, with the majority of you returning. If you enjoy the videos, do subscribe. Let's get that down to 50%. And with that said, let's get to it. Amongst all of this new information that has come out from gaming news outlets, from various press and influencers as well, there is some conflicting information and we don't have all of the details. We're all doing our best with what we've got and we would love to learn more information so we can get some more concrete answers. So take all of this with a pinch of salt, with a hint of speculation, and let's dive into what we do have so far. Your Palico is returning as your companion, your trusty sidekick during your fights, during your hunts. They will be participating in the combat and helping you in ways that you are used to. We heard the Palicos being actively voiced for the first time, which we have learned is going to be a toggleable option. You can either have the meow meow or you can actually have the human speech. We don't currently have further insights into the actual customization of the 2 voice options, whether you can swap the human voices or the Palico meow voices, but hopefully that will be an option as well. I would love to have that additional depth of customization. I know this was a big thing for people as they are accustomed to their Palicos meowing and didn't want to take away from that cute experience. We've had people even saying that their pets at home, especially if you've got cats, react to the Palicos in the games, and maybe it being human voiced would take away from that. We are fully confirmed that the game is in fact cross-play. However, it is not cross-save, and this is also fully confirmed on the website. What that means, if you're unfamiliar, is if you're playing on PlayStation, you will be able to party up and play with someone playing on Steam PC. However, if you have both PlayStation and Steam PC, for example, what you won't be able to do is play a little bit on PlayStation and then continue where you left off with that same character, that same save on your PC game then. Those will be separate characters, separate saves. I am not too fussed that we don't have cross-save. It would have been a nice extra. I am just so over the moon happy that we've got cross-play. Now I can play with all of my console friends as well. And given that I used to play on PlayStation myself, I know the console experience is absolutely phenomenal. Now we all get to play as one big hunting family. Isn't that just sick? It is. That's the answer. It is sick. The world itself is something that has had a little bit of conflicting information and different viewpoints on as well. Everything that I have heard and all of the information that I have collated myself points it towards being essentially what is an open world. It all takes place in one big sandbox world. You are not teleporting to and from a hub town as you know it, like Astera or Celiana. It's all taking place in one seamless place. There are villages, yes, there are villages and towns filled with NPCs. You can trade various cooking items with them so that you can go and make these like your own temporary camps. However, we have also heard that there's no quest board. The questing is instead dynamic and based on your current location where you're at. From there, you can, as I've heard, open up your menu and see which dynamic quests are currently available to you. So a pseudo kind of on-the-go quest board from your menu, but not a physical quest board in a hub town location, as it were. But we've heard a little bit of conflicting info on that. Some folks have said that the villages do act like a hub town, while others have said they are strictly an NPC village for the trading, and they give you some information about the world as well. For example, warning you when a sand tide is imminent, and stuff like that. I don't know which way it's going to go, if those villages do act like a hub town or not. From what I've heard, I cannot see it being that way. It sounds like it's going to be a very immersive, dynamic experience, where you are setting up these temporary camps at specific set locations within the open world. roaming around with your handler, and I'm not sure if Gem is with you as well and where your actual upgrades take place, but it sounds like a lot of it is to do with being out in the open world, in the wilds as it were, and living out of these temporary camps. Even referring to it as an open world has been a point of contention for people. Even if you don't strictly want to use that term, we've heard that the maps are 3 to 4 times bigger, that everything is occurring within this sandbox and takes place dynamically and seamlessly as well without loading screens, that it's you, the locales, the monsters, your camps. Now, I don't know what you would refer to that if you don't call it open world. That sounds a whole lot not like a theme park game and a lot like a sandbox game, aka an open world game. If you don't want to call it open world, that's cool. Kind of sounds like it's open world. Just saying. All 14 of the weapons are confirmed to be back in the game. And not only are they returning every single one of them with new moves, some focus mode abilities as well, which we'll talk about in more depth in just a moment. Certain weapons having those clash attacks, those cinematic grapples that sort of look like quick time events. Very, very cool. And sneak attacks as well. We don't know if this is actually specific animations for the sneak attacks, or if it's just a damage modifier. I think that would kind of be not as great. I would love to see some specific sneak attack animations, which you can only do when you're engaging a monster and it hasn't noticed you yet. I think that would be so cool. We have heard that out of all of the weapons, the ranged weapons are going to be the ones that are receiving the most changes to them. And I think that is because in the previous games, they have been overtuned and they are the ones that you can make these crazy meta loadouts for. So I wouldn't be surprised, and maybe it's worth considering that they are going to receive some nerfs. Just get yourself ready for it. Sorry, heavy bowgun mains, but it's time to actually play the video game. Do you know what I mean? I'm joking, of course. Relax, don't worry. So not only have all of the weapons been adjusted and had new moves added to them, we'll also see how they engage whilst you're mounted, which ones have actually got the clash attacks, and how they respond in focus mode as well. We have learnt quite a bit about focus mode. That is a stance that you can get into at any time, in which you are able to aim your offensive and defensive abilities or attacks. And it seems like these abilities, these attacks that you're able to do in focus mode will be unique to it. A special stance with special attacks. Wounding has returned, but it's not the clutch claw wounding that you know from Monster Hunter World. In fact, there's no clutch claw at all. We have a hook slinger, but not the actual clutch claw. Repeatedly attacking the same part will have your scout flies, which are also returning, glow red around the monster's part. If you're in focus mode, you can create these wounds more easily, making it an effective way to create these wounds. From what I've gathered, the way wounds work is you'll deal additional damage to those particular spots. However, the wound itself has a certain HP threshold. After you deal that certain amount of damage, the wound will dissipate, rather than how tenderizing worked with the clutch claw, which was on a timer-based mechanic. Perhaps it's a combination of the two, and whichever one is reached first will see the wound disappear. Whilst focus mode does sound like it's going to be useful for newcomers to the game or to the franchise or even to the genre, it doesn't necessarily sound like it's going to be super OP and trivialize the game. What it does seem like is it will give you a helping hand to be able to target specific spots and be more deliberate with your attacking or defensive abilities. I anticipate it's going to be a very useful stance to get into, even for experienced players. I don't think you'll be spending the entire fight in it, but I do think it will help you to do certain things, such as getting those wounds or even targeting those wounds, for example. Whilst tenderizing and the clutch claw has been removed, mounting monsters and mantles are both confirmed to be back in. So it's not all new stuff with clash attacks, sneak attacks, and focus mode. It is some returning features and functionality too. Although if I'm being honest, I did kind of hope that mantles weren't making a return. I felt like they were very overtuned in the previous games. We'll see how they're executed. I wanted some other Hunter's tools, something like more similar to the health boosters and cleanser boosters, something along those lines rather than the actual mantles. locales. We know that exploration and gathering quests have made a return as well, so whether or not there are quest boards, which is again a point of contention, we do know that it's not strictly hunting quests, it's the other varieties too. When it comes to the hunting quests, at least, we're told that there's no quest timer, and that the quest only begins once you actually engage the monster in the fight. You know, by order of the guild and all that. It'll be interesting to see how this is implemented. I know a lot of folks are like, there never needed to be a timer, it's too long, whatever. But a lot of you folks are very good and very experienced in these games, in this genre, in this franchise. There are a lot of people who have struggled with the 50-minute time limit on quests. And while I'm not saying to water everything down and make everything easy mode, not necessarily, no, I do think there is a place for there to not be any quest timers. Let the difficulty come from the actual engagements with the monsters themselves. Not that you ran out of some arbitrary time restriction, you know? As well as the multiplayer and the crossplay, we've actually also got our SOS flares, and very importantly, you can call AI hunters to come and join you. Not feeling like getting online today and playing with actual other players, but you still want to have that party dynamic? No worries, summon in the AI crew, the ChatGPT bonkers, the Siri strike force, the Cortana cucks. This will also be really nice functionality for console players who don't have PlayStation Plus or Xbox Live, who still want to have that multiplayer experience. Speaking of, yes, when you're co-oping through the game, through the story, there is going to be some iteration of the whole one person needs to do it and then the other person needs to do it. But from what we're seeing, what we've heard, it is far better implemented and is a lot less restrictive. Out in these 2 to 3 to 4 times bigger locales, out in this open world, not open world, seamless world, we do have day-night cycles, we do have weather systems, we do have these sand tide events as well. Certain monsters, fauna and flora are only going to be available during certain day or night cycles, assumably the same for certain seasons and weather events, and is confirmed the case for sand tides as well. For example, that lightning monster we've seen that folks thought may have been the flagship, that is confirmed not the flagship, but it is, however, the apex of the locale, one that only comes out during a sand tide. The monsters now are able to hunt in packs, and that means the large monsters, not just these small little Shamoses or Jagresses. No, the Doshiguma, the Balahara, they're hunting in packs, and they've actually got alphas as well. These alphas, of course, are going to be the leaders of the packs, and we're hearing that monster behavior does differ depending on whether it's with the pack or not, opening up incentives and strategies to pull the alphas away from the packs, whether that's toppling the others with obstacles like falling boulders, or leading them to a sand pit where they all sink other than the alpha who's able to climb out. It's going to be really interesting and exciting to see how the alphas actually do respond and how they behave differently to the rest of the pack. Maybe they've got special attacks that the rest can't do. Maybe they can call the pack over to try and overwhelm you, like the great Gyros does in Rotten Vale in World. It's going to be really exciting to learn more about the monsters, as that's what we're here for. It's to fight them bad boys, to hunt them down. As well as our Palico and our other companions, we have the trusty new mount Sacred. We have seen the hunter traversing various locations, jumping up at high points, gliding across long distances, running through areas whilst being chased and attacked by other monsters, and of course weapon swapping on top of it, attacking from it, and even being picked up after being downed by a monster. From what we've heard and seen, this really seems to be a very core element of the game, seemingly enhancing your experience rather than being detrimental to it and requiring it. I can envisage the gameplay being very fast-paced and fluid and really dynamic, hopping on and off your Sacred mounts during fights, in between traversing locales, getting a cheeky quick weapon swap out, or quickly picking you up from a sticky situation once you've been knocked over. Just very cool. I'm super excited to learn more about it. There are other little bits and pieces we've learned as well. such as the HP and stamina user interface being redesigned for it to be more immersive. Maybe this means it'll be more realistic, it will better blend into the environment, into the aesthetics of the game. We've also heard that carving is back in the game as well, that it's in fact a lot more detailed. You no longer clip through the monster, but you climb on top of it whilst you're carving. I've heard of instantly acquiring monster parts once you've broken them during the hunt, rather than having to wait until the end of the quest to be finished, but there are still post-quest rewards and breakdowns of everything. It all looks so good. I am so excited for Wilds. What features do you like the sound of? What are you most hoping for and looking forward to? Is there anything you've seen that you don't quite like? Let us know in the comments. I would love to hear from you and discuss all of this with you openly. As mentioned at the start, a lot of you have really turned up and gotten us to around 80% of unsubscribed viewers on the channel, with the majority of you returning. If you enjoy the videos, do subscribe. Let's get that down to 50%. If you want to talk Monster Hunter Wilds with us or just play World or Rise, come and join the Discord. It is open and absolutely popping off in there every single day. We frequently get together in open sessions, open lobbies, but otherwise just discuss the games that we love. I also live stream Monster Hunter World both on Twitch and on YouTube over here, where I also do open lobbies to play with all of you folks. I will leave all of these links in the description for you. Thanks for watching, and until next time, I'll see you in the new world, old world, wherever Wilds is taking place.